Hi, it's Cheryl. All right, I'm trying again to get Amanda to join. Amanda, hoping this will work. There we go.
Yay!
Sometimes you have to reboot.
I know, I swear. It's a different story every time sometimes.
That's great. All right. So I'm really honored. We are in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Month to have Amanda Cloots. She is a mom, a dancer, a fitness expert, and one of the new hosts on CBS's The Talk. For those of you who haven't been following her, she recently lost her husband to coronavirus last year, and she's been so open about sharing her journey on Instagram. Such an inspiration to me and so many others. And she's now written an incredible book, which we're going to talk about. But before I get there, Amanda, thank you for joining me. Let's start with you. How are you and your son, Elvis, doing?
Oh, thanks, Cheryl. It's so nice to be talking with you today. Thank you for having me. Elvis and I are doing okay. We are doing good. Every day is a different day, but that little boy, I thank God for him. He keeps me so happy and smiling, and he's almost 2, which is crazy. And so he's just at this adorable stage right now where every time I look at him, my heart melts. I mean, he has me wrapped around his little finger. But I think that I just say I thank God for him, because it really is truly why I think I'm able to get out of bed every morning.
Well, I remember that. I got out of bed for my kids, and so many of us do. So you and your sister Anna, and that's so special, wrote a book. It's coming out next month. I have an early proof copy. Live Your Life: The Story of Loving and Looting Nick Cordero. I'm emotional about this. I remember reading you had just moved across the country and you were taking care of a newborn when Nick was in the hospital. That you would your sister would take Elvis for an hour or so you could have a moment to yourself, which I think is just so important. And reading this, I could feel what was on your shoulders. What were some of the ways, because we are here at Mental Health Awareness Month, what are some of the ways, even through the worst of the worst like this, you were taking care of yourself?
Honestly, it was exercise every single day. I have to move my body every day. It is how I release stress and anxiety. And even if I would exercise for 5 minutes, because then a doctor would call or something else would take my attention, it makes me feel better. The minute I let go and just focus on my health and moving my body, listening to music, getting energy out there, focusing on something else, it is my instant number one mental health fixer. It, even in the darkest of times, and even when I went through my divorce, Cheryl, I did the same thing. I was teaching fitness, and every single day forced myself to go to that studio and teach, and I would leave feeling so much better. So it is my go-to, always my go-to.
I really agree with that. I always found like solace in exercise, and on the days where I wasn't able to, those were much harder days.
Mm-hmm.
So look, for me and so many people, your story became a really real beacon of hope and resilience. You've been so honest about your struggles losing Nick this year. What led you to share so openly, and what's that one thing you wish people going through something hard like this would know?
Well, I started talking about Nick's battle because it was so new. Take yourself back to March of 2020.
Yeah.
No one knew what was going on. And we were all, for the first time in our lives, you know, told to stay in our homes and do nothing. So everyone was watching the news and what was on the news and what the symptoms of the coronavirus were. And when Nick went into the ICU, and he had none of these symptoms that every day we were hearing. I was like, I have to come forward with this. I have to talk about this. And I already had a social media account, and I was always very vocal on it as being a fitness instructor and an owner of my company. And so I thought, I can't I can't have my husband in the ICU and not address this. So it started off with that, and just, wanting people to be aware that his symptom of being tired was not being talked about on the news. And, and then, everything just started happening. And my poor husband, the snowball effect of what happened to him in just a week, or just those first 18 days in the ICU, were so traumatic that it just felt like I was responsible to let people know, so that they could know. I mean, again, we were in this time where no one knew what was going on, and we were just like reaching for any kind of information we could. So I just thought it was so important to share. You know, for advice on, or what I wish people knew, I think it's a twofold. It's really hard. I mean, you'll read it in the book, my daily battle of just of being a wife and wanting to be with her husband, but then also during the pandemic when you're not allowed in the hospital, and that battle every day. And I say it was a battle because the hospital was trying to protect the nurses and the doctors, of course, and they should have. And I'm here trying to protect, my husband and our relationship, and wanting to be by his side. So I think that what people didn't see, and what people will read in the book, is that struggle right now for family members that have someone in the hospital, that we're losing somebody during this pandemic, and that struggle of being at the hospital, not being at the hospital, being allowed, not being allowed. It was really tough.
Yeah. No, I mean, these are such unprecedented times, and there are more members of the club that I unwittingly and unwillingly joined. I remember after Dave, my husband, passed, I was at a kid's soccer game, and there was one friend whose mother had lost her husband, and she was sitting on the side in a chair, and there was an empty chair, and I knew that chair was for me. And I went and sat down, and there was this, woman 20 years older than I was, 30 years older than I was. I had more in common with her than people I'd known for decades, because we joined a club that is a club neither one of us want to be in. So where are there some places that you've found community and support in this club?
Yeah, I think, no, honestly, Cheryl, I think that's such a great point, what you just said, because you find this new help in all these unexpected places. And when you talk to somebody that has gone through this, it's like this instant bond that is like unbreakable in a way. In all random places. I was doing Elvis's preschool tour, and the owner of the preschool, before we sat down, she was like, I lost my husband. I understand where you're at right now. I know where you're at. I had a child. I was a single mother for a while. I found love again, and our families are together now. And we were both bawling and crying, but that's such a great example of such unexpected, completely unexpected, support and love. I thought I was just there for a school tour, and all of a sudden, we're crying together, holding hands, and she's, encouraging me to love again. I mean, it's beautiful. And then the other huge community that was just insane to me was Nick was a part of a Broadway show called Rock of Ages. He was doing it here on Hollywood Boulevard before everything happened. And his cast and crew of Rock of Ages still to this day are like my rock. I was not close to them before. Of course, Nick was. I was not, because we had just moved to this city, and they have not left me alone, and they have loved me and loved my son and supported us 100% from day one that Nick got sick. And again, it's just like those things, people you don't even know. And that's the crazy thing. Sometimes it's the people that you don't even know or barely know that end up becoming your best, most confidant people through these times. And sometimes it's your best friend that does it. And I'm not saying it's bad or worse. It's just these unexpected little beautiful silver linings that come in these dark times. So
one of the things I wrote about in my book is bouncing forward. We don't just bounce back. In some ways, we can bounce forward. There are things we appreciate more. I appreciate birthdays in a way I didn't. So that we can close and leave everyone with an optimistic note. What are some moments you've known where you feel like you're bouncing forward, not just back to where you were, but forward.
Yes, I love this idea so much. I loved this part in your book because I think, you know, you think of loss, you think of grief and death as being so sad, and it is, but this bouncing forward aspect, it gives that hope and it gives that like resilience cue for your body. Um, there's been so many blessings. I mean, writing this book was a bouncing forward because it helped me grieve. It was therapy for me. Writing down what happened very quickly after Nick passed, I didn't realize was so cathartic and so releasing for me emotionally wise. And this show, this job, the talk was a huge bounce forward. It gives me a new family every day. I get to have a purpose and a job every day that I love. And I have a beautiful family here when I, you know, have lost family at home. That was a huge bounce forward. And, you know, honestly, just like every day with Elvis is like, I just feel like it's such a blessing. I really do. I mean, it's definitely sometimes so hard because you look at this little guy and all you know, wish is that you still had your partner with you. But I'm so bouncing forward is our health and the fact that we have each other for sure. 100%.
I so agree with that. Okay. Lightning round, really
Okay.
fast, fun questions. One thing you're looking forward to this week?
Oh, I get to go back to New York City this weekend for the first time since we moved.
Wow.
So I'm really
That's
looking forward to
huge.
that. Yeah.
That's huge. What gives you strength? One thing that gives you strength.
My faith. Yeah, for sure.
And that's very, very common. A recent moment of joy for you.
Recent moment of joy. I'm teaching myself the piano, so I'm having much joy every night. I sit down, I put Elvis to bed, and instead of turning on the TV, I play the piano, and it is a huge joy for me right now.
That's great. So Amanda, thank you so much. I've personally been really inspired. This book is out June 15th. Thank you for joining us for Mental Health Awareness Day and sharing your journey. To everyone out there, the thread on this and the comments, so many people have shared their loss. So many widows, a widow in New York City listening to us flashing by right now. And I guess I want you to know, and I bet Amanda wants you to know, it gets better. I promise. It gets better.
Thank you, Cheryl. So nice to chat with you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.